如果你学中文，你一定是会变成比较好的英文老师。不懂中文的外国人会教学生，然后听他们的错误，觉得为什么他们错这样子？如果你懂中文，他们还没有错，你就知道他们会错在哪里，就是在英文、中文不一样的地方。My name is Rick France. I'm from the USA, and I've been living in Taiwan for almost 31 years now.
It's kind of mind-blowing that you'd never been out of the country, and you're just like, I'm going to move to Taiwan.
Well, I didn't think it was going to be for 31 years. I thought it was going to be for 11 months, and then I was going to go to law school. It was an adventure, basically. Some college friends talked me into it, and then they bailed and let me come by myself. When I got here, I'm like, wow. It is a very modern city. I was imagining like huts and things. Just the number of people was just overwhelming at first, and all the scooters everywhere. Back then there were a lot more because the MRT hadn't been built yet. I came by myself on a plane. I didn't know anybody. So I had a Lonely Planet guide. Do you know, have you ever heard of Lonely Planet?
Books. Yeah,
Back before the internet, that's anybody who traveled, you had to buy the Lonely Planet guide, and that was basically your Bible. I said, I'm an adult. I can do this. I'm going to get off the bus, and I'm just going to look at the street signs, and I get a map here. Well, to my chagrin, I get off, and I look up the first street sign, and there's no English at all. And I look down at my Lonely Planet book, and I'm like, where am I? But you know, that's where my love story with Taiwan actually starts, because this young kid came up to me. He saw that I was lost. He saw the look on my face, and he comes up and he says to me in English, "Can I help you?" I couldn't speak a lick. I couldn't even say "xie xie" in those days. He's like, "Oh, it's complicated." So I have two heavy suitcases. He picks up both of them and say, "Let's go, I'll take you there." I'm like, "Well, hold on, you don't have to take me there, just tell me." He goes, "No, it's too complicated." So I said, "Well, at least let me carry my own suitcase." He's like, "You carry one, I'll carry the other one." I didn't know how to thank him. Like, I've never experienced such generosity in my life. Like, this guy, he was a saint. He didn't want anything from me. He certainly didn't want any money. He didn't want English lessons or anything at all. He just wanted to help me out. Right away, I knew this is a good place. And from there, I just met wonderful, giving, generous people. After I got out of that hostel, I didn't have a place to live, and I really didn't have any money because I'd basically spent all my money on my plane ticket to get here. So one of the people at the school that I started working at helped me find like the cheapest possible apartment ever. So it was a Jagai. It was a rooftop place, but in an extremely illegal rooftop place. So it barely had a roof over the top. So I'm like, okay, where's the bathroom? They took me down there, and I'm like, they turn on the spigot, like, here it is. I'm like, this isn't a bathroom. That's just a spigot. And I'm like, how do I take a shower? How do I take a bath? There's no shower head or anything. And so there was one of those big orange buckets, like the big tub. They're like, oh, you just fill it up. I'm like, okay. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, then do I sit down inside it and take a little bath, or do I dump it over my head? So I kind of found the best way to do it was just to fill it up all the way, dump it over my head, get the soap my whole body down, and then fill it up 2 more times and dump it over my head. And that worked great. I got here in September. That worked great until about mid-December when it started getting cold, because remember, there's no door on the bathroom either. So I'm basically just on a roof. So that water would come out and my hands would be shaking, and I'd pour it over my head and shake. It was like, but on the bright side, I was wide awake and ready to go to work. So I lived like that for like my first 3 months. And then I got a couple paychecks, and I'm like, now I can live in a proper hostel. I had enough money to pay 6,000 NT to live in a hostel. It was like 9 foreigners living in one. Lifted martial law, I believe, in 1989. And so there weren't many foreigners here because all the freedoms and all the fun I'm talking about on the weekends, there wasn't that much of it because there were curfews and things.
Being a foreigner back then, very novel.
Right, yeah.
Now, Not so much.
Not a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once in a while you walk into a restaurant and the person sees you're a foreigner, the person behind the counter, and they're like, ah, 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 and they start reaching for their colleague. Why go around? Ni lai.
English.
Okay, English. Yeah. And then I speak to them in Chinese and order my food or something. They're
Were there any moments in the beginning where you're like, what am I doing? This is crazy.
Oh yeah, so many times when I was putting the 10 NTs into that telephone, I was going to call back, and I'm like, I'm going to tell her I'm coming home. I'm going to come home. And then I just pictured myself like going back with my tail between my legs and having to face my friends who I told them all, I'm going to Asia, I'm going to Taiwan, and I'm not coming back for a year. Yeah, and it was basically just the fear of shame that kept me here and the joy I had in the classroom. Like the days were great, and they were long days. I was teaching like crazy. So I remember my first year when I was still teaching adults. This guy was a bank president, and he would come to class in a business suit. He had a Rolex watch on. But when he'd give me his homework for the day, he would bow to me first. I'm like, this guy. Truthfully, that changed my perspective about teaching, because I think I had an American perspective about teaching. The people in Taiwan gave me this Asian perspective. Yes, in a society, what kind of people should be respected the most? Of course, it's the people who are educating the next generation. And somehow we've got it wrong. In Western culture, the entry-level teachers, they're just barely making above poverty level pay to be assaulted.
What was the kind of thing that switched gears in terms of like, okay, maybe this is somewhere I could stay more long term?
I hit a point where I said, there's a need for good teachers in good schools. And I'm very entrepreneurial, so I thought, yeah, this is the perfect place and the perfect time.
In the school that you run, the parents will come and sit in on class.
In most educational systems, one basic rule is the parents can never be in the classroom. And so at ACES, we flip that. In Taiwan, you have these parents who are willing to come like straight from work and sit in the classroom because they want to be involved. I think that is such a special thing.
Your teachers at your school are able to speak Chinese to the kids.
We can use the mother tongue as a bridge to the new language.
你认为来这边教英文的外国人应该学中文吗？
如果你学中文，你一定是会变成比较好的英文老师。不懂中文的外国人会教学生，然后听他们的错误，觉得为什么他们错这样子？如果你懂中文，他们还没有错，你就知道他们会错在哪里，就是在英文、中文不一样的地方。If you're in a 全美语 environment, a lot of times the kids have no idea what the teacher's saying. It's like if you were watching a Japanese movie, there are no subtitles. We watch for about 2 seconds and say, I don't know what's going on here.
I give up.
I'm changing the channel.
Yep.
And that's basically what the kids in the class do. They're like, I don't know what that guy's saying up there. I'm changing the channel in my brain, so I'm somewhere else.
And in that vein, have you noticed that the level of English has improved over the past 30 years?
That's a really interesting question, because I think about this often.
Yeah.
The answer's no.
Oh, dang.
Yeah,
Okay.
the answer's no.
Okay.
And the amazing thing is this. This is shocking. If you look at the junior high school curriculum starting in 7th grade, they basically hit the reset button when they get there. So they basically start them from really basic things like this is a book, after they've been learning English for 6 years. And so now there's this initiative to make Taiwan bilingual by 2030. A lot of government money was allotted for this, but I saw where they're putting it. They're putting it all at universities, which to me, I'm like, you're doing this completely backwards. Right now, for example, it's illegal for the foreigners to teach in kindergartens. That's exactly where they should be. Because if your kids learn English pronunciation and they're watching cartoons in English and listening to English music, they're going to grow up bilingual like the people in Singapore did.